All right, let's bring in the co-director of Defending Democracy Together, Linda Chavez. Linda is a senior fellow at the Nichole Center. So, Linda, I feel like there's two camps of kind of anti-Trump Republicans, those who want to continue working in professional Republican politics and those that don't. And the way they view the former president, whether they're going to vote for him, seems to be dictated by their future ambitions. Do you agree? Or?
I absolutely agree. And clearly, Nikki Haley is in the former group. But by the way, I would divide it a little bit different. It's those who want to continue to work in Republican politics under Donald Trump and under his philosophy, and those who want to make the Republican Party what it once was under people like Ronald Reagan, my old boss, and George W. Bush.
So you're with you're on the island with the I'll call it Liz Cheney Island at this point, right?
I'm a Liz Cheney Republican.
A Liz Cheney Republican. Okay, so let me put her tweet up on the screen where she says the following: Donald Trump's unstable and dangerous. He knows this is a lie that could again provoke violence from those who blindly follow him. Talking to the R's in Congress, you know Trump is unfit. When will you put aside your cowardice and stand up for what you know is right? So she's come out and said things like that over and over again. And the answer is they won't. Will they? I mean, as long as they want to stay in Congress. As soon as you do it, you're done, at least in today's Republican Party. I mean, I was trying to think of people who are either running for office or in office who are against him and are Republicans. Maybe Larry Hogan? I don't know. He's running.
And that's my home state of Maryland. Now, I do think that the problem is that as long as Donald Trump is the leader of the Republican Party, it is going to not happen that you're going to have members of Congress or others who are interested in political office who are going to buck him. And so the question is, if he were to lose this year's election, would that be the point at which people say, okay, we've now lost election after election since 2016 with Donald Trump at the helm? Or if he were to win and has a catastrophe of an administration, which I frankly believe he will, it'll be a catastrophe not just for the country, but for the world. And this is one of the things I think Nikki Haley really missed the boat on. She said that she wanted to support somebody who would back our allies and hold our enemies accountable. And one thing we know for sure is Donald Trump will not do that. And
the question is, what will her followers do? It's not it's a substantial number of people that voted. We've showed the numbers a number of times, but I mean, in the primaries, 16 million votes for Trump, 4.3 million for Haley. So 20% of the primary voters went for Haley. She says she's voting for Trump. Again, she didn't tell everybody else what to do, but how do those 4.3 million break? I talked to Chris Sununu yesterday, the New Hampshire governor, he was for Haley, but he's endorsed Trump. He says they overwhelmingly will go to Trump. But I'm sure he's at least partially right. In heavy numbers, they'll go to Trump. But, it doesn't take much in some of these states. How do you see it breaking down?
Well, first of all, I don't think that that 20% was all a pro-Nikki Haley vote. It was an anti-Donald Trump vote. And there will be a portion of those voters who will choose either not to show up. Some will vote for Joe Biden, and others may just show up on election day, but will not check the presidential box. And so, it's just a matter of what percentage of those votes that she got that will now switch to Trump. And I think certainly a portion of them will, whether that's a large portion or a smaller portion. I don't think we're going to know until Election Day.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. We don't really know. I mean, no matter what the polls are saying now, a lot could happen at the debates. Maybe, Biden needs to convince some of these people that he's able to do it for another 4 years. Whatever the case may be, to me, people like you, people like Haley, they're going to decide the election. Thank you, Linda, for coming on today. We'll keep this conversation.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.